Hey, Niners fans, let's dive deep into the upcoming clash and break down everything you need to know about San Francisco heading into this massive showdown. First and foremost, the story of this game really starts and ends with the offensive line. Whoever takes the quarterback role, whether it's Brock Purdy or M. Jones, will be relying on those big guys up front to hold the line and give the signal caller time to make plays. And that's not just a casual observation. The Rams bring a defensive front that can absolutely dictate the pace of a game if the Niners fail to step up. This is a defensive line that's not just good, they're loaded with talent from top to bottom. They added Poona Ford in the offseason, giving them a run-stopping defensive tackle who can clog lanes and make life miserable for any back trying to get going. But the real star here is Jared Verse, a second-year sensation who captured Defensive Rookie of the Year honors last season and is already showing flashes that could one day put him in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Through 4 games, his overall PFF grade is an astounding 91.5, matched exactly by his pass rushing grade, and his run defense rating is solid at 66.3. That's with 2 half sacks not even counted in the grading, alongside 18 pressures and 11 hurries. He's a nightmare matchup, particularly for Colton McKivitz, who, despite being one of the best pass blockers in the league, gets tested against elite edge rushers like Verse. McKivitz just got his contract extension, and the Niners need him firing on all cylinders because one slip-up on that side of the line could completely shift momentum. And let's not forget Trent Williams. Even he hasn't looked like his usual self lately, and Verse can move, so the potential for big, game-altering plays is real. A strip sack, a forced fumble, a hurried throw. Any of these could flip the game in an instant, just like we saw against Jacksonville. Now, speaking of matchups, the focus for the Niners defense has to be on Puka Nacua. He's already proving to be a challenge for any defense, and if the Niners front doesn't generate pressure, Matthew Stafford will have all the time in the world to pick apart coverages. Nacua has an incredible ability to use his size to create separation, almost like a power forward boxing out defenders. Over 4 games, he's been targeted 50 times, hauling in 42 receptions. That's more than 10 catches per game with over 500 yards, already translating to a pace that could dominate a full season. Nacua's matchup against a potentially short-handed secondary will be key, especially if Renardo Green isn't active after missing the last game with a neck injury. The defensive line has to rise to the occasion because, frankly, the performance against Jacksonville was not acceptable. No sacks, no quarterback hits, something that hadn't happened for the Niners since 2015. With Nick Bosa out for the year, there's an expectation that the rest of the line steps up, hustling and attacking every play to make up for the absence of their star. Instead, the effort was underwhelming, especially when plays were wide open and nobody was hustling toward the ball. That lack of urgency is something the team simply cannot afford moving forward. On the offensive side, the story continues with Christian McCaffrey. He's been phenomenal through 4 games, putting up massive, all-purpose numbers, but the Niners' running game has struggled to find traction. Chris McCaffrey has 69 carries for 225 yards, averaging just 3.3 yards per carry, and San Francisco is still searching for its first rushing touchdown of the season. That's simply not sustainable. The offensive line, particularly in the interior and in red zone situations, has not been able to create the necessary lanes, and while Trent Williams can still open things up on the left side, he's not the dominant force he once was. Because of this, the Niners have been forced to rely heavily on checkdowns and passes to McCaffrey, who has 43 targets, 31 receptions, and 305 yards, averaging 9.8 yards per catch. While he's making the most of these opportunities, the lack of balance in the offense is concerning. It highlights the challenge of facing a Rams defense that can pressure the quarterback, stop the run, and make the Niners one-dimensional if the line fails to hold. Kyle Shanahan's offensive philosophy has always emphasized establishing the run to control tempo, dictate flow, and create opportunities downfield. When the team has to play catch-up and throw constantly, it exposes weaknesses and increases the margin for error. Special teams is another area that needs attention. Against Jacksonville, it was nearly a disaster contributing to turnovers, missed opportunities, and explosive plays allowed. A poor punt coverage led to an 87-yard touchdown return, and key drops from receivers on critical downs compounded the problem. Turnover margin is massive in the NFL, and the Niners' missteps in that department have been costly. Protecting the football and improving fundamentals on special teams are absolutely essential as they face an elite Rams squad. Mistakes will be magnified, especially with a young roster that's already missing key pieces and operating with limited depth. Every misstep could swing the game, which means perfection and execution, both offensively and defensively, is more than just desirable, it's required. Heading into this matchup, there are so many storylines to watch. The offensive line versus the Rams' pass rush, Puka Nacua's impact against the secondary, Christian McCaffrey's workload, the Niners' ability to run the football effectively, and the cleanup needed on special teams. All of it matters. Injuries, uncertainty at quarterback, and the necessity to travel for a short week make this a particularly challenging test. The Rams bring talent, depth, and health across the board, which makes them formidable opponents. San Francisco will need a perfect game on both sides of the ball, with execution down to the finest detail, just to stay competitive. Momentum, turnovers, and key matchups could ultimately decide the outcome, and every player has to rise above expectations, especially with marquee names sidelined. The stakes are high, and the margin for error is razor-thin, making this one of the most critical tests for the Niners so far this season. Now, let's dig into the finer details because this matchup is going to hinge on execution in ways that the casual fan might not fully appreciate. The offensive line has to function like a well-oiled machine because the Rams' defensive front is designed to disrupt everything. Jared Verse, as mentioned, is a player who can change the course of the game with one perfectly timed rush. He doesn't just threaten the quarterback, he alters the way the entire offense operates. Every snap, every cadence, every play has to account for his presence, because if he beats his man, that could lead to a strip sack, a hurried throw, or even a turnover that shifts momentum entirely. The Niners are facing a situation where their protection schemes are going to be tested on almost every play, and the young quarterbacks, whether it's Purdy or Jones, will need to stay calm under intense pressure. One lapse, one missed assignment, and the Rams can exploit it immediately. It's not just the edge rushers either. This Rams defensive line is deep, physical, and disciplined. They know how to occupy blockers, collapse pockets, and create chaos while still maintaining lane integrity against the run. San Francisco's running game has been struggling, and without consistent push up front, the play action that Shanahan relies on so heavily will never materialize effectively. McCaffrey is a phenomenal talent, but even he can't create big plays without proper blocking and time to make decisions. Meanwhile, the Niners' defensive side faces its own daunting challenges. Puka Nacua has been a revelation, and the combination of size, route running, and hands make him nearly impossible to ignore. The defensive backs have to stay disciplined, maintain coverage, and hope that the front seven can generate enough pressure to keep Stafford off balance. The issue is that the Niners have struggled to create a pass rush since Bozo went down. That absence has exposed vulnerabilities and forced the rest of the defensive line to step into roles they weren't fully prepared for. Against Jacksonville, it was clear that the effort wasn't there. Players weren't hustling to the ball. Misses were compounded by lack of urgency, and the overall defensive mindset seemed flat. For a team that prides itself on aggression, speed, and finishing plays, that performance was alarming. The pressure has to come not just in numbers, but in quality. Stafford, when untouched, is precise, methodical, and dangerous. He can read coverages, manipulate defenders, and pick apart even disciplined schemes. Nacua will find gaps, and if the Niners don't adjust on the fly, he could dominate the game in both catches and yardage, exploiting mismatches and challenging the linebackers and secondary to contain him physically and mentally. Special teams cannot be overlooked. The unit's performance has been a recurring headache. Missed tackles, blown assignments, and costly returns have directly contributed to losses. The Niners have to tighten coverage, secure the football, and limit explosive plays from punts and kickoffs. Each misstep in this phase amplifies the pressure on both offense and defense. Football at the NFL level is a game of inches and seconds, and every lapse carries weight. Against a disciplined and talented team like the Rams, any mistake could be fatal. San Francisco has shown talent and resilience, but consistency in all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams, is absolutely essential. Offensively, the balance between run and pass will define the game. Kyle Shanahan's philosophy is built on establishing the run to set up play action and control tempo. Yet the Niners have struggled to gain positive yardage consistently. Without that balance, the offense becomes predictable and the Rams' front seven can tee off on passing plays. Christian McCaffrey is versatile and explosive, but his effectiveness is tied to the line's performance. He's already shouldering a significant workload with substantial targets in the passing game, but relying heavily on him makes the offense one-dimensional. The quarterback must make quick, accurate reads, utilize checkdowns effectively, and avoid unnecessary risks. Every snap counts, and every decision will be magnified under pressure. Injuries further complicate the picture. San Francisco is missing key contributors, which reduces depth and forces players to operate in roles they might not be accustomed to. Young players are being asked to perform at high levels against elite competition, and the margin for error is razor thin. Each turnover, each misstep, each failed block could snowball into points for the opposition. The mental aspect of the game becomes just as crucial as the physical. Focus, preparation, and execution must all align perfectly. Mistakes that might be recoverable against weaker teams could be devastating against a well-coached, talented Rams squad. Looking at the bigger picture, this game is a test of resilience, adaptability, and execution. The Niners must overcome adversity, play disciplined football, and minimize mistakes. The offensive line has to hold, the defense has to pressure and contain, the running game has to function, and special teams has to execute flawlessly. Every player is accountable, every play matters, and every decision could alter the trajectory of the game. San Francisco's ability to respond to these challenges will determine whether they can stay competitive or whether the Rams' talent and depth ultimately prevail. At this stage, predicting the outcome comes down to analyzing these factors together. Injuries, quarterback uncertainty, offensive line performance, defensive pressure, and special teams execution. The Rams have talent, health, and depth on their side, which gives them a clear advantage. However, football is unpredictable, and if the Niners can protect the quarterback, control the clock with the run, and create a spark on defense or special teams, they could keep the game close. Every moment is a battle, and every possession carries weight. It's a chess match played at high speed, where preparation meets opportunity, and one big play can swing momentum dramatically. San Francisco has the tools, but they have to execute flawlessly across all three phases to have a shot. The challenge is immense, the stakes are high, and the intensity will be unmatched. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. San Francisco might be on the verge of a seismic shift in the NFL landscape. Rumors have been swirling all week, but sources close to the league suggest that the 49ers could be adding a game-changing piece to their defensive puzzle: Aaron Donald. Yes, the dominant defensive tackle who has terrorized quarterbacks across the league might soon call Levi's stadium home. Donald, a force of nature on the line, has long been considered the gold standard at his position. His combination of speed, power, and football IQ makes him nearly unstoppable, and whispers around the league indicate that San Francisco's front office has been quietly negotiating to bring him to the Bay Area. While nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders hint that a deal is imminent, potentially transforming the 49ers defense into one of the most fearsome units in NFL history. If the signing goes through, the implications are massive. Donald's presence would instantly elevate a defensive line already boasting talent, creating nightmares for opposing quarterbacks and opening opportunities for the 49ers, linebackers, and secondary to thrive. Imagine the pressure from a front four anchored by Donald. Games could be decided before the first quarter even ends. For years, San Francisco has flirted with defensive dominance, and landing a player of Donald's caliber could finally make that dream a reality. The timing feels right. The 49ers are in a window to contend, with a roster already stacked with playmakers and a coaching staff known for maximizing talent. Donald, in his prime, would not only bring elite skill, but also leadership and an aura of invincibility to a team chasing a championship. Social media is already buzzing with speculation, and fans are dreaming of a muralha in San Francisco, a wall of defensive prowess that could define the league for seasons to come. As the NFL world waits for confirmation, one thing is clear. If Aaron Donald does indeed sign with the 49ers, the Bay Area will become the epicenter of football conversations this offseason. Rumor or reality, the idea alone is enough to make opponents nervous. The league could be on the cusp of witnessing one of the most electrifying defensive partnerships in history. And San Francisco, if the reports are true, would be at the heart of it all. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.